Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I sometimes feel like I should be saying good morning,
Robin.
when I come on these calls. Yeah. Wow. Everybody's eager this morning. Everybody was waiting in the background.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Happy 2021.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's a bit like Groundhog Day at the moment.
How is everybody?
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Kat.
Good morning. Hey, Stefan.
Hi, morning, Kat. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Very long time.
I know, and we'll have to have a catch up offline to find out.
Yes,
more about your
yeah, for sure. With pleasure.
Is anybody not in lockdown today? Can I?
Is anybody on
We're
the
not in lockdown.
Anybody on the Scilly Isles?
Please.
Simon, yes. Yeah. Malta's probably the only place.
Is anyone else homeschooling children?
Yes.
Oh my goodness me! My wife just took him out for a walk. Yeah,
You're lucky.
I need peace and quiet, you know.
Yes.
You're fortunate.
Well,
Yeah.
for now.
Morning, Robin. Morning, Barry.
Morning.
Very good.
Morning.
Hi, good
Morning,
morning.
everyone else. Happy New Year.
Morning, everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody. Yes.
Morning, Julian.
It didn't change too much since last time, to be honest.
Well,
Actually,
Yeah.
maybe it was better in December.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the only time of the year when you can say, well, last year. It was only last week.
2 weeks ago, Robin. Come on.
Well,
It was
no.
before Christmas.
Yeah.
I know. Was just 2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago, yeah, but last year was only 4 days ago.
Okay. Yeah. Confusing.
What day is it?
Yeah.
Or actually 5 days.
By the way,
Sorry,
it's almost today. It's 5th, so it's today in Italy. It's kind of a red on the calendar because tomorrow is actually red because it's the Epifania, La Befana.
Yeah.
But today we used to say Happy Vigilia, that it's the day before the event. Anyway,
Yeah.
Happy
Similar to
Vigilia.
Spain. In Spain tonight, the kids should be all running to see the cavalcade of kings arriving to give.
Yeah, the 6 kings.
Exactly.
Yeah, the 6 kings. I don't know if they'll be doing any of that because I think they're in a lockdown the same as everybody else, unfortunately.
Well,
Yes.
actually, the tradition that we exchange presents in Italy, some families they still have on the 6th instead of Christmas.
Yep.
Because on the tradition, Jesus Christ got the presents on the 6th when the 3 wise men arrived.
Yeah.
So some families they don't exchange presents at Christmas on the 6th of January.
And some of them are really fortunate because their kids have cottoned on and they ask for presents at Christmas. And
The children are fortunate, not the parents that they need to cash out.
Indeed, yes.
So, Robin, you still carry on with the festivities, I take it, or it's not?
Well, it's as we were just saying. As far as I'm concerned, Christmas doesn't end until after tomorrow night, because the King's Day. I was 60.
I see.
So,
Sorry, I missed that part.
I don't give any presents away on King's Day anymore, but I'll be going off to pick up there's a traditional cake in Spain, which is it's called a roscón, which is like a ring, and they have a bean and a king hidden inside it, a little toy king, and whoever gets the bean to pay for it, and whoever gets the king it puts a crown on. So
well, that's very interesting. So my wife is French, and that is exactly what she is doing. Literally, and whoever finds the king or queen, wears the crown.
Yeah, well, I'm off to.
Stefan, I'm disappointed you're not wearing a crown.
Nah.
Come on, something from a cracker at least.
Does a headset work? Does a headset
One thing that did end last night at about 8:05 was dry January, that's for sure.
Here.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, so strange times indeed. Back into lockdown for almost, well, what is officially unofficial lockdown. They call it tier 5 now, just to make it sound different, but to all intents and purposes, it's back to where we were in April.
Latterly, Timony.
So, yes, strange times. But it is a new year, and let's hope that it's a better one than last year. Can't get much worse, let's face it. And here to give us a welcome into the new year and talk a bit about the hospitality industry, I'm very honoured to say is Peter Ducker. So I'll hand over to him, and let's hear how we're getting on.
Thank you very much indeed, Robin, and good morning, everybody. What a pleasure to be here, and you know, it's nice to be back in the land of the living again after the Christmas shutdown. But like the rest of you, I watched the news at 8, or watched the broadcast at 8 o'clock last night, and my heart just sank into my boots. I get why it has to happen, but my God, it's you know, let's hope that the virus does what we're all banking on it doing. But anyway, good to see you all here, and you know, thank you, Robin, for inviting me today. What a privilege. I thought I'd just, if you don't mind, I won't do a presentation. I thought I'd just talk a little bit about life, the universe, and everything, about what's happening in the Institute, the industry as I see it, a bit about me because you don't know me, and hopefully then we can open up into questions, because I think that's always the most interesting part of these things. And I don't think Zoom works with long monologues. I don't know how you guys feel it, but so there we go. But as Robin Sakani said, I'm Peter Ducker. I'm the Chief Executive of the Institute of Hospitality, which all of you, I hope, know. We're the professional body for the industry. In a nutshell, our purpose is to promote professionalism through lifelong learning. We inspire professionals, and we help everybody, every member, we hope, to achieve their full potential. And our mission is to promote hospitality education and lifelong learning across the world. We work with universities around the world. We have members around the world, but obviously, as you all know, we're a UK organisation. I've been running it now for, in fact, it's 8 years this week, and I have to say it's an enormous privilege to do this. I've been a member all of my career, and to have the opportunity to play in the toy shop and to actually run the thing has been wonderful. And I hope you've seen some good things happen whilst I've been here. I'll tell you a bit about my background. I studied at Oxford Brookes. It was Oxford Polytechnic in my day, but it's now Oxford Brookes. I did the HCIMA final membership qualifications there. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember those. And then I worked in hotels. I went into operations, did a graduate training scheme, and ended up in London as a reception manager, then a front of house manager. And I had the brilliant idea. Well, actually, I was advised by one of my uncles that if you want to get to senior management quickly, take the less trodden route. And if you choose in the hotel world, if you choose to go through operations and through to general management, and then beyond that, getting into that corporate level, in his advice, and he wasn't a hotelier, was harder. So he said, either go into finance. I have great respect for finance people, Robin, but it was never going to be my bag, or into HR, or into sales and marketing. And I chose sales and marketing, to be quite frank, because I thought that way I'll get my weekends off, which I thought was a good wheeze, having spent a few years, as I say, working as an operations manager. It didn't quite work out that way because within a few years I worked for an international company, and towards, I think the worst year I was abroad for 200 days, which didn't play well at home, but that's that. So I was a hotel sales and marketing guy, and I did that for a number of years and ended up very fortunately sitting on the boards of both private and public hotel companies before I chose to branch out by myself in the late 80s, when technology and reservations was just coming into its own, and there were great opportunities to create a hotel booking agency. At that time, the world was dominated, or the market in the UK was dominated by one player, Expotel. There were a few small players, but technology made the route to entry possible. I'd done a lot of work around the hotel reservations world, obviously with sales and marketing, and so started a hotel booking agency, which I ran for 18 years. I loved it. I was very involved in the creation of the HBAA, and I like to think that when I left that world and I sold the business in 2005 to a Finnish company, the hotel booking agents sector had come of age, and I played a part in creating some regulations around it and improving the standards of operation so that it's a much more harmonious relationship these days. Obviously, I'm not speaking in terms of OTAs, I'm talking in terms of corporate hotel booking agencies. Loved that. And then I spent a few years, when I sold the business, I told my wife, I'm never going to work full time again. I'm always going to do something to keep my hand in because I love working in the industry. And I'm going to spend a bit of time doing work for good industry causes because I'd had a good career, I'd been successful, and I thought it was the thing to do. So I did some consulting work, which was fabulous, very interesting, very varied, and took me, well, not so much around the world, but it was here and in the States mainly. And I got involved in the Beyond Food Foundation. I don't know if you know it. It's a charity which gives chefs apprenticeships to homeless people over the age of 24. So people who've kind of fallen between the cracks in society. Gives them chefs apprenticeships, and then finds them jobs on graduation and mentors them for the first 2 years as they, establish somewhere to live, open a bank account, all of those things, and provides sort of mentoring support for 2 years. Fascinating. I love being involved in that. I also got involved in Oxford Brookes. As I say, I was an old boy from there and have affinity for the place. And finally, I threw my hat into the ring with the Institute. I've been one of the laziest members, I think, in that I've been busy building my career, raising my family, and had never really got involved. But I did get involved when I had this wish to do something for the industry. And having done so, when I heard that Philippe Rossiter, who was my predecessor, was retiring, I thought, you know what, I would love to take on that challenge, because the Institute was still a wonderful organization, but was in a little bit of a muddle. And I thought what it needed was a bit of commercial nous and somebody to come in and revitalize it. So that's what I did. And as I say, I've been doing it for 8 years. It's an enormous privilege to be working for this organization. And I hope during my tenure here, you've seen some improvements in what we're doing, and you can see us as being relevant to where we are now. I think we're all recoiling from the latest shock of lockdown, or whatever they're calling it this time. But I have to say, as a note of optimism, and I'm sure at this time of year, we all want a bit of optimism to bank, don't we? I think I started my career, I'll tell you, this will give you a clue as to how old I am. When I left study and took my first job, it was in the time of the 3-day week. Don't know how many of you remember the 3-day week, but basically there were coal strikes, there were national strikes, there was an enormous energy shortage, and most industries were only allowed to open for 3 days a week, and businesses had to close for 2 days. So factories were working on part-time, a lot of hospitality was working on part-time, and it was a deep, deep recession. But we came through it as an industry, we came through it as a community, we came through it. And through my career, I've been through Gulf One, Gulf 2. I started my business just before Gulf 1, I think it was. And again, it was a recession, business fell off a cliff, etc. 9/11, I think the main thing about 9/11 is it's what gave the OTAs their toehold or stranglehold, if you like, in our industry, because they were right at the time. They could channel business very quickly and dispose of distressed inventory far more effectively than anybody had ever done before. They ended up controlling, I think it was about 70% of the hotel stock in New York was being sold through OTAs within 3 weeks of 9/11. And they've never looked back from that. And they kind of stole such a march on operators then that, I think the ground was lost in those days. But the reason I'm talking about all these things, and then of course there was the financial crash after that. But the reason I just want to talk about all of those dreadful times that we've been through is that every time hospitality and industry has bounced back. We're an enormously resilient industry, and I feel confident that we will bounce back. I think it's kind of hard at the moment to look at so many businesses lying empty, so many staff on furlough or having lost their jobs. It is just the bleakest and darkest of times. And I'm not a COVID denier in any way. It's happening, it's real. The impact on our industry is massive, but I do believe that we have the resilience in time to build back. It's not going to be straightforward. It's going to be a jolly hard route, but I do think we're going to do it. In the Institute, February last year, we realized the direction of travel because we saw in other parts of the world what was happening with COVID. And really, by the beginning of March, it was obvious that the UK was going to be hit like everywhere else. And our year, last year, 2020, we changed our strategy totally, very quickly, because we realized that what we had to do was act as a signposting service and directing members to where they can get information, where they can get advice on how to manage furlough, where they could get support for their businesses as they needed it, and also a very important part of what we were doing was providing a network of support for members. In all sorts of different ways. And one of the things we did, and Robin knows about this well because he's a regular on it, is we started a weekly coffee morning, which was just a way of bringing people together, because we're all of us in this industry used to working in teams, we're used to working together, we're used to being in close proximity with our colleagues, aren't we? Whatever our role is. And all of a sudden, we all felt very isolated, and working at home was just a shock to the system. So the coffee mornings were one thing. We changed the tone of our webinars. So depending on what was happening, we were either doing something about mental welfare, about staying in touch with furloughed staff, how you manage the relationship with furloughed staff, how you kept them engaged and feeling part of the business family that they were in. But then as lockdown 1 lifted, we shifted our agenda and we focused on rebuilding businesses, whether it's hotels, restaurants, bars, clubs. We ran different webinars for the different sectors of the community, because one of the unique things about the Institute is it does span everything. I know we're a hotel community here today, and I feel very much at home here, but I spend a lot of time these days working with contract caterers, working with people in the care sector, all of whom are an important part of our ecosystem. And I think one of the things that we've learnt during COVID, and I mean, hats off to Kate Nichols for the work she's done to raise the profile of the industry, is I think many people for the first time have actually realized how important and how essential our industry is, and how you miss it when it's gone, more than you realized, I think. I know that I know so many of my friends were they're not heavy pub goers, but they miss their outings. They miss the socializing. They miss going out to dine. They miss their holidays, their breaks away. They missed their business travel, for God's sakes, and everybody thought they hated business travel. But suddenly we were all feeling very isolated, weren't we? And the sectors of the industry have recovered and have recovered in different ways. They've then been bounced back into lockdown again. We saw bars recover very quickly. We saw restaurants recover very quickly. Hotels had a much more gradual build-up, and I'm going to talk about that next, if I may. But I think it's just been a massive time of correction. Many people thought there were way too many restaurants before all this kicked off. The interest that private equity were taking in restaurants in the last 15 years, where they were building brands, and they weren't interested in a brand unless they could scale it up to be 100 restaurants within a year, 2 years. And then, of course, private equity guys are very, ruthless. As soon as a business isn't performing, they cut the bits that aren't working. So we've seen a lot of attrition in the restaurant sector. And I think we will see similarly attrition in pubs as well. But hotels, I believe, are going to recover pretty well. I think, we will hopefully remain in a time of low inflation, low interest rates, and certainly after the experience of the turn of the century. My understanding is banks are very reluctant to foreclose on hotels. I mean, I think we all remember when RBS was one of the biggest hotel asset owners in the country, and it took them a long time to get rid of that hangover. And I don't think they're going to rush back into that. So I think there will be support from financiers for hotels. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of hotel accountants today, so you know more about that than I do. But I think there will be the support and there will be the time bought. And I do believe that. I also choose to believe, and let's focus on the UK today if we may, but the same applies elsewhere, that the vaccine will work and we will begin the path back to normal. I don't think we're going to get back to normal this year. I think it will be a series of progress, but and I think certain sectors will recover much more slowly. I mean, I don't think there'll be any contract caterers here today, but people who are in the business of workplace dining are facing a long-term problem, because I think working from home is going to be here to stay. And I think that as a result of that, people who are heavily invested in the business of catering in office buildings, I was talking to someone recently who have the contract to provide catering security in front of house in a building that accommodates 4,000 people, and there were 50 people working in it. But they've still got to provide some sort of food service. They've still got the security. They've still got everything else running. They're having to really reassess their businesses, and I think that's a tough area to be in at the moment. But focusing on hotels, I do believe that as COVID lifts and as in the UK they roll out the vaccine and we begin to get the herd immunity that we need from it, and in other countries as they adopt the vaccines and as that gathers, the road to recovery is going to happen. And I think we've seen enough now to have a bit of a handle, pretty good handle on what's going to happen. And I strongly believe that in hotels, the first sector that will come back is regional domestic leisure, by which I mean we're all gagging for a weekend breakaway, for a short break in, and I know that as soon as it becomes possible, there is enormous demand. But we're not going to want to travel far. We're not going to want to get on planes, and we're going to want to be a couple of hours from home, 3 hours from home, somewhere nice to go to, somewhere where it's interesting. Spring will be in the air, thank God. Let's hope it's a spring as good as last year weather-wise. And I think when lockdown finishes, the first market that we'll see bouncing back is regional domestic leisure. So if I go back to my hotel marketing life, I think if I were in that gig now, what I'd be doing is looking at my markets within a couple of hours of traveling distance from my hotel, looking at my, digging into my deep data for the past clients, and This is weird. I'm talking and I can see Alistair on this, my colleague Alistair on the screen, big in front of me. So, hi, Alistair. I think if I were in hotel marketing now, I'd be focusing on that short haul, short term, short distance domestic market, because I think it would be the first thing to recover. And then as confidence gathers, as people begin to think, do you know what, we are on the cusp out of this, people will be traveling further. So it will go from being regional travel to national. And then I guess the next stage, and still I'm talking leisure, but the next stage will be regional within Europe. So we'll be either driving over to France, or assuming we're allowed to take our cars into France by that time, I don't know. And you know, there'll be people traveling internationally, but not long haul. And I do believe that the last leisure market to come back will be long haul, partly because obviously airlines are suffering dreadfully, and they're only going to reopen routes when they're sure they've got a reasonable load factor on them. So there's going to be a period of time of higher airfares because of restricted supply, and not the cover there was in the past. So I think long haul travel, we might be looking into 22 before that begins to become a significant part of our leisure business mix. On the meetings and events side, my God, is there a pent-up demand for weddings? So all the weddings that were cancelled last year, whether people have gone ahead and done a quickie with 15 guests or what have you, I think the demand for parties and the demand for people catching up with their weddings is going to be a very welcome bonanza once we're allowed to hold events again, because I know a lot of people have got masses of business on the books at the moment for it. Let's hope it can materialize now, because I just think that, well, I feel totally confident that the demand is there. In terms of other meetings and event stuff, I do believe the corporate market will return slowly. I think business travel will return as people try to reignite their markets and people want to get out and talk to their client base again. So there will be individual business travel starting, again, regional, cautious, slightly further distance. Meetings and events, I think big events will take a long time to recover. I think national exhibitions and events like that will take a long time to recover. Again, because of confidence, the confidence of the people who put the money behind them happening. I think that's going to take time to see ignite. So I think it's going to be 2022 before the meetings and events market really returns in the corporate side. I think the focus this year is going to be on leisure. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will be having their weddings midweek because they can't find the venue that they wanted to find weekends. And of course, because nobody's traveling, everybody has so much pent up and deferred holiday entitlement that people are going to be taking midweek breaks far more than usual. And I think there'll be more opportunities in that sector. But I think, as I say, if I were in hotel marketing now, I would write my strategy for this year broadly around that timetable and look certainly at engaging in my local leisure market and my regional leisure market and then my national leisure market. I would work hard to stay in touch now with my corporate clients, you know, my top list of corporate clients from the good old days before COVID, because you've got to assume that they will be looking to come back to us as well. And it's not a time to fall out with the OTAs, is it? Because they do have a habit of being able to turn on business very quickly at a price, but you know, it's this is when they can earn their, you know, earn their value. And I think the other channels, going back to my time as a hotel booking agent, I think they will recover. They will find business very tough. They have found very tough. I know a number of them have gone to the wall. But identify who have been your loyal partners over the years and work with them. And I'm sure you all know that, and the maths are that when business is tough, hoteliers traditionally work out the maths of slightly increasing commission they pay to buy market share. And I'm sure that will happen once again. I think, so I do feel confident. Our industry is enormously resilient. It will bounce back. It's going to take time. The more you spend time looking at your market, looking at your traditional client base and your contacts, and re-engaging with them now and giving them confidence that you're going to be there and you're going to be there to support them and welcome them back, I think that's the best use of marketing time at the moment. I think, again, with my former hat on, I think the two trends that I would look at to see what the new opportunities are from it. I think the first is the whole working from home, the impact of working from home. That's not going to go away. Companies are changing the way they work. I think they've realized that life is just as effective working from home. A lot of industries can do that, can work that way. Companies are already looking at downsizing their office space, changing the way they do things. They've invested in the technology to have telephony and have things like Zoom and the other platforms come of age. But that's going to have an impact because people are still going to need to bring their teams together. So it may well be that there is a demand for very local day meetings, half-day meetings. If you've got big public space where people used to meet for an occasional cup of coffee, monetize that as much as you can, because that's going to be the coming thing where people need to get together, but they're not going to want to meet in people's homes. And we can't always just go to a Costa. So, you know, that would be something to look at, and how you can actually monetize the working from home culture into your hotel. Partly by doing things like that and looking at the meeting sector, and also partly maybe at providing some sort of collegiate thing where you can recreate for people working from home their what they used to call the water cooler moments where people meet by the water cooler, meet in the kitchen where they're making a cup of coffee, just to catch up with each other. And it may well be that hotels can say, well, whatever day of week it works out to be, whether it's a Friday or whatever, we have a working from home today where we're providing lots of workstations for people who want to come in, and they can do a bit of socializing, a bit of networking. Again, going back to the Institute's coffee morning, I know that friendships and liaisons of, you know, business opportunities have emerged from people meeting there. And I do think that people working from home are still going to want to have some interaction other than with the dog or the cat. They're going to want to get out and spend a bit of time with other people. So I would look at that. I would also look at this platform and platforms like this and the impact which they're going to have on our meeting resources and on our conference and event facilities, because I think there's going to come a time when, and in one of the webinars we ran last year actually was one of our guests was a guy called Richard Eads, who I've known for many years. Like me, he was a hotelier turned booking agent. He's actually gone from being gamekeeper to being poacher, and he's now the fox in that he's a corporate, and he runs the conference and events procurement for BP. He has an enormous budget, and his take on the future is that global meetings will be extremely rare. National meetings will become much more common and will be timed to coincide with each other. So there can be a global conference, which is a network of national meetings. And I think this technology is going to make that sort of thing possible. So if you haven't got a very good pipe of broadband into your conference venue, you've got to look at that, because you're going to be needing a much broader pipe. You're going to be needing much quicker and more robust internet access to facilitate meetings, point-to-point meetings, where you've got a room full of people in your venue talking to people around the world in their venues. And I think the structure of those meetings is going to change. The timetables of meetings are going to change so that people can meet, have their meeting at an odd hour to coincide with what's happening on the West Coast or what's happening in Asia. And so people in Europe are going to be either staying up late or getting up early to engage with their partners. And again, I think the hoteliers who are quick on their toes to realize that and prepare for that market are going to be the winners. I am optimistic about the future. It's really hard to keep yourself pumped up at the moment. I get that. But as I say, our industry is robust. We have commanded, I think, greater respect from the business community and from the community at large because of the elevation of the profile of hospitality as a whole. Therefore, 2021 is going to be tough. I don't think it will be as dire as 2020. And I think by the middle of the year, we will begin to see a return to normality. I think there will be a real need to focus on productivity, because until you have great confidence, you're going to want to be bringing your recruiting slowly but surely. You're not going to want to recruit and staff up before you know you've got the business for them to serve, which means that productivity and skills development, multitasking is going to be something which the operators are going to have to look at. And I believe that by the end of the year, we will really be looking at a significantly better picture. The world economy has a hangover, is going to have a hangover. Businesses are going to have a hangover. Building back is going to be massively difficult. But I do think that it's going to happen. It's going to happen this year. I'm optimistic. I can't help but be optimistic. And, you know, I wish everybody well for the year. I hope I haven't rambled on for too long. And I hope that in amongst everything that I've said, there were some nuggets of common sense and some things that are of use. I think being quick on your feet with your marketing is going to help a lot. I think being sincere with your clients is going to help a lot. I think looking at new opportunities is going to help a lot. And I do believe that as an industry, we will win through. Robin, I don't know how we're doing time-wise. I'm very happy to take any questions anybody's got. I see some have come up on my screen, but I haven't really been able to read them.
Most has been sort of like comments about, especially Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's on his toes, isn't he?
But yes, points about sort of like how the events industry is gonna come through. I've just got one question for you, Peter. Do you think this thing with the having a the push to have a municipality is the way, or is it more a case of people like Kate actually lobbying the government, the same as the oil companies and God knows who else does? Where do you think the pressure needs to be?
I think we need to have a Ministry of Hospitality. I think the problem that hospitality has is the fact that we are such a segmented industry. As I said, there are different sectors that hardly ever speak to each other. The majority of businesses are SMEs rather than, you know, the oil industry is the big five. The airline industry is the big five. You know, these industries can gather together with clout and have great effectiveness. At the moment, hospitality engages with two departments. The hotel side deals with DCMS. The pub and restaurant, the pub and multiple retail side deals with biz. Neither of whom are particularly useful. We need to have a seat at the top table. We need to have someone who looks at hospitality in the round and speaks on our behalf, because we really are the silent giant. If you look at, if you're, whether you remember or not, on the front of our website, the Institute's website, you'll see a little post I did just before Christmas where I wrote to Jeremy Hunt, who is my local MP. And the point I was making to him was that hospitality, we are enormous users of real estate. So the tax takeout of our property taxes is enormous. And given what's happening in the high street, we are becoming one of the most attractive businesses industries in terms of business rates that there is. We employ a vast number of people and generate a vast number of people being employed in the supply chain. So the tax take out of PAYE is enormous, but it's so segmented that it isn't seen as coming from one industry. And that's the thing, that's the game changer. If we can be seen in the round, bringing together contract catering, hotels, restaurants, bars, clubs, the whole piece, we will be seen like never before. Kate's agenda is very narrow. I love her. I love what she does. I think she has changed the face of BHA into UK hospitality remarkably, and it is a force to be reckoned with, but she does have a fixed agenda. And I think we need to be seen in the round. And I think we do need our own minister for that. That should then have, well, there is an all-party working group, all-party parliamentary group already, but we need to have closer ties with Biz and the Treasury, which are the two departments that really count. And we do need to have, and the saying is, a seat at the top table. If anybody listening hasn't signed the petition, get on and do it. And if you've got time now that you're locked down, write to your MP. Have a look at the letter that I wrote, stress the point that in every constituency, many voters are employed in hospitality or were. Ignore them at your peril and look after them as best you can. So yeah, I think it is important there, Robin. Yeah.
Any
answer to a short question. Sorry.
Yeah. One last question, anybody?
Well, I'd just like to make an observation there. I mean, there are a number of positives about the pandemic, and one of the things that has happened is Sunak has made an announcement today about more support for retail and the hospitality sector. And the fact is that all those businesses now have a stick in the ground. They're all visible. They've all received money. So, they are visible to government. And, if there's a consortia or a body that can take the mantle and drive it forward, everybody's easily identifiable in the sector. And the fact that local councils won't want to lose these businesses off their high street. A number of retail shops are closing down, many of them being turned into flats with people living in city centres and town centres. They need the hospitality sector to furbish this. So councils will need to be doing more as well. And local business, I think, can form working groups and battle with their local councils, who then will go to county councillors, who will then drive the message up to the top.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Julian has just had mentioned a quick one. How do you view the coaching business and with returning to sort of like with domestic and overseas? I assume you mean like the bus coaches as opposed to mentoring.
Coaching.
Yes.
I reckon that's what Julian means as well. Well, it's interesting. I think it has. Yeah, I think it's got a reasonable future. And I think the interesting thing about the coaching market is, provided the coach operators can position it right, I do believe that one of the sectors that is going to find it hardest of all to recover is the cruise industry, because there were dreadful stories about COVID spreading on cruise ships, people being marooned out at sea because nobody wanted them to dock, etc. I do think that group travel in that regard, and that the market that we're taking cruising, if coaching positions itself right, it can tap into a whole new market. Traditionally, the profile of coach business has been older people who are maybe less confident to be independent travelers. They want some support network around them. We are an aging population, so that plays to it. And I do think that you can displace the coach operators who are smart, can displace some people who had been cruising, because they can offer a similar type of experience, either nationally or regionally. And they're maybe going to look at broadening the range of hotels that they work in accordingly. So I think it has a market, and I think it's, if they market it right, they can tap into concern about the lack of cruise, or about the risks of cruising, yeah, I think it will recover for sure. Yeah. And again, there is a support network there because you've got a tour guide, you've got somebody with you, you're not alone. Yeah.
Okay. I think we need to draw a line there because Jan's waiting on the sideline as well to give us a little chat. I'd just like to say thank you very much, Peter, for joining us and for your insights.
Not at all. Thank you for inviting me. I've just seen something come through from Andy McKay, which I think is very important.
Okay.
He says, thanks, Peter. Is there any pearls of wisdom from previous lockdowns about keeping the young managers in the team motivated? I am very concerned for the people who are graduating last year and this year. I think our young managers are the future of the industry. If we don't encourage them to achieve their full potential, we're never going to be able to retire. So you've got to bring these guys on, you've got to invest in them and keep them motivated. So I just wanted to pick up on that because to me, that is massively important.
Yeah, I think one of the messages that has come through from previous lockdown is having these sorts of meetings for your team is just as important as anything, just to keep them alive and interested in the business, because when we do get back, it has to be hit the ground running.
For sure. Yeah. And rebuilding that morale of the team is going to be enormously important. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Totally.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Peter.
Not at all. If you don't mind, Robin, I'm going to leave the meeting now. I've got other stuff I need to be dealing with, but thank you for having me. Great to meet you all. And I wish everybody, please God, 2021 is everything we hope it's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And moving swiftly on, we have Jan, give us some some more positivity. We need lots of positivity.
We just I feel like I've just been through a therapy session actually with Peter like that. So yeah, just happy new year to somebody else. Let's fingers crossed for 2021. As everybody says, it can't be any worse, can it? So I'm just going to share my screen with you now. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. And Peter mentioned about nobody likes really long monologues. So I've got one. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We'll be able to get through this really quite quickly. So firstly, thank you, Robin, and I'm looking at you in the eyes now as if you're really here. I think we're getting used to this screen thing now that we're talking to people as if we're really physically present. So thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. It's such a great group. And thank you to many of the group as well for contacting me. I've made some new friends and new colleagues out of this group. So thank you for that, Robin. It's great to be connected with so many of you. So today I'm just going to talk about thinking differently. We have to think differently. We've thought differently all year, and now is the time to plan and think differently and talk about the challenges that will be ongoing. They're not just going to stop when we have a vaccination. They're not. What solutions can we offer? How can we not only survive, but also thrive and flourish? We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive and flourish. So I'm Jan Denning, and I'm founder of the Hospitality Partnership. It's brought me a new green screen. It's working quite well, isn't it? So, and it's on a shower rail.
Fantastic.
Put it up on a shower rail. So instead of spending £70, I think I spent £20 on the screen. So let's see. Okay. So first of all, a little about me. That usually causes an look. I'm sure I can hear you all going, oh. So I was born Janet Lynn Denning on the 5th of February. I'm not telling you what year. Rarely am I called Janet. I am if I'm in trouble, but it's usually Jan or JD. Since leaving school, my career has always been in sales, in the travel, business events, tourism and hospitality sector, and I absolutely love the sector. I think we're all very privileged to work in it. I'm also a proud member of the Institute of Hospitality. And my last employed position was commercial director at Wolverhampton Racecourse, where I was responsible for all the different revenue streams there and the on-site Holiday Inn hotel. I've been self-employed since October 2017, and I'm absolutely passionate about working together and customer service. Customer service is what's going to make us stand out moving forward. It always has, but it's more important than ever. So since October 2017, I've been working with destinations, different hotels, different venues, supporting and advising on sales and marketing strategies, training teams to recognise opportunities. I'm a great believer that there are so many opportunities, even in a time of challenge like now. What to do about those opportunities, driving sales, driving conversions, and so drive revenue. And then what happened? March came and we had a lockdown. Contracts were cancelled or postponed. Furlough was a word that I've never even heard of before. I've learned lots of new words this year. There was a lot of streamlining of departments. There was a postponement of marketing initiatives, thinking that that was the right thing to do. I think that's really short-sighted. It's more important than ever to market now. There was a stop on training and people investment. Again, it's really important right now to keep that investment in people going, health and well-being, training. We're going to have to learn new ways of working. There was cut back on roles. There were redundancies, job losses, and lots of people taking early retirement too. And then other businesses similar to mine were seeing the value of collaborative working. I've often heard people about working in partnership, working collaboratively, and then I see people just doing their own thing anyway. You know, and I'm a great believer in truly working together, sharing information for a common goal, and we will all benefit. I also recognise that many people, good people, had lost the jobs through no fault of their own, but loved the industry, wanted to stay in the industry, but maybe didn't want to go back into that corporate world. So there's an opportunity to look at still serving the industry, but on a self-employed basis. The challenge really was apparent that many businesses, especially those smaller, medium, independent hotels, venues, could no longer afford full-time permanent staff to fulfill responsibilities. Yet those responsibilities still needed to do if you wanted to continue to survive, thrive and flourish. Absolutely. So what did we do? We had to adapt. We had to pivot, another new word, which I don't like using that word, but we had to adapt the business. Our industry, without doubt, needed support. I started questioning, how could we make a difference? What did the industry need and how could we help? And I wanted to do all of those things, but I also needed to make it commercial too. I need to earn something, you know, I have responsibilities as we all do. And taking that, working in partnership, working in collaboration, I did some research, put a few things out on social media and LinkedIn group to try and build a bank of really good professional people who believed in working in collaboration and to help the industry. The response was overwhelming. And at this point, I guess I should say, and it was all part of my strategy to get all of these people together. Do you know what? It wasn't. I didn't know what kind of response we were going to have, but it was truly overwhelming. And the quality of the people that were getting in touch was overwhelming too. I really felt quite inadequate. I'll talk about some of the partners a little bit later. So to date now, we have 20 partners, associate partners within the hospitality partnership, Robin being one of them for our financial controller. So yeah, it's great. It was great to get Robin on board. So, and there it is pivoting. We have now, the solution that we have created is a talent bank of resource. Sounds really good, doesn't it? And this is all part of doing business in a different way. And between all of those 20 odd partners, really, really good, knowledgeable, talented partners, we've got over 500 years of experience. I think Robin's got 100 of them on his own. I think I've got 2. So it's a really good talent bank of resource. We officially launched at the end of November after all the planning and the research that we were doing, getting partners together, speaking to the industry. We've got a new website, and already I'm delighted that referrals have already been passed between partners. And we've also, and I'll be able to share this with you very soon, our first major contract has been awarded, and that has benefited 6 of the partners. So we are absolutely delighted about that. So it's already showing that this new, different way of working is working and can be successful. So the beauty of this this new way of working is that you only pay for the work that needs doing. So you still need sales doing, you still need revenue management doing, licensing. You know, it's a specialist area, so you still need a qualified person to do that. Looking at sustainability, which is going to be really high on everybody's agenda, and cutting back for more effective green utility bills. PMS channel managers and booking system, you know, think about you and your contacts, that when are their PMS current contracts expiring, you know, time to relook at that. Business coaching and mentoring. I know that Peter touched on that as well. Right now, we need to support senior managers, everybody to move forward in this new world. And I hate that saying, but hey. Health and well-being, absolutely key, so we can provide that. Marketing, social media. Do not cut back on marketing and social media at this time. At this time now, it's more important than ever to be out there in front of your customers and having a great exposure. HR and people development, absolutely key. There's lots going on in that HR, and it's still important to develop people too. Merchant services, business development. CRM, we're working with a great partner, Ivy, for CRM, diary management, does proposals, does invoices, all in one place, and very, very competitively priced. Training, now is the time to invest. Whilst businesses aren't open, let's get people trained, let's learn new ways of doing business, so we can help with that. Financial control, Robin's area of expertise, so important to not take your eye off the ball for financial control, and good financial control will save money in the long term. Strategic consultancy and operations, now is the time to plan. You're never going to have this time when you have more time to relook at your strategy, relook at your business plan, relook at your costs, relook at your operations, and we can help with that. And a fresh pair of eyes is usually really good. Booking and ticketing platforms. This is, everybody uses Eventbrite just because it's Eventbrite. Nobody really has a contact. It's a US-based company with all of this buy local, book local, support local, and yet we use Eventbrite. We're working with a company called Try Booking, which is UK-based, has a face, and we have a relationship with, you know, everybody switch over to that and support that. Merchant service, oh, I've got that twice. Procurement, absolutely key. Look at your costs. I'm going to just give an example of procurement and the importance of that. And our partner there is Steve Bates, is also a partner in the Hoteliers Forum as well. So all of those things we can do, but we can do it as and when you need it, because the challenge is that many businesses can no longer afford full-time permanent roles and all the costs that are associated with that. So here is just some savings that you could make. I've just taken some key roles there and average salaries. So don't all say, well, no, that's wrong, that's wrong. I just used read.co.uk and Indeed to find some average salaries. So a sales manager, director of sales, financial controller, revenue manager, procurement manager. And so a month as a full-time role, this is what they would be earning. That's the gross monthly taking. So say you knew that that job could be done in half the time. So that first column in blue is showing somebody that's working for you for 2 weeks out of the month or 10 days out of the month. You will reduce costs there by doing it in half the time, and bearing in mind, because this person will be focusing on the job that you need doing, there won't be time wasted, because we all know that when we're on property and you're paying that full-time salary, we get drawn into all kinds of things. There's a board meeting, there's a function sheet meeting, oh, there's somebody at reception to see. So actually that job could probably be done in the 2 weeks anyway. And then the column next to that is saving that could apply each month. So imagine that if you took it over 6 months or a year. And then I've done where, because it's such a flexible solution, where it's just 39 hours per month. So 5 days, 5 days a week, and it's showing you the savings there. You can read it for yourself, and I'll share this presentation as well with Robin to send out, so that you can look at the massive, massive savings that you can do to just pay for the work that you need doing without compromising delivery, your brand or your values, and delivered by experienced people. And so those are the savings just for getting jobs done. But also think about, and I'm going to use Steve Bates has kindly shared this with me. You can tell he's an analytical person. It's really small. Sorry, you'll see it better on the printout. I need to look at the printout. But, you know, get somebody in to look at your procurement, you know, if they've been made redundant or you don't have that role within your business, get somebody like Steve in to have a look at those, because as this slide shows you, yes, you can increase sales by 25%, and there's a lot of effort to go into doing that, or just by procuring more wisely and having a procurement expert in your business, you can reduce the costs, and then your net profit is actually more than the increase in sales. So that would absolutely pay for itself and be a long-term plan for you. And what are the benefits? So professional experience resource for a variety of role and responsibilities when you need it. You pay only for the work needed and the hours that you need to get the job done, whether that's a day a month, a day a week, 5 days a week, whatever you need, whether it's a project-based work, whether it's a longer-term role that you need fulfilling. You'll save money on no long-term commitments or employee contracts. You save on fixed costs of employee tax, national insurance, holidays, maternity, paternity, sick pay, recruitment costs, pension costs. You'll have ongoing support, the cost of ongoing HR support. If you're unlucky, you could have costs of redundancies. So by using one of our services, you avoid all of that. Importantly, you remain in control and focused on your core business. And it's also cost effective. It's easy, very user friendly. And many of you in this group will know a lot of our partners. And that's important for your well-being as well as a senior manager. And so we can take away some of that stress. So in summary, I can't see the time, so I hope I've managed to rattle through it quite well. In summary, there is help and support out there that is cost effective. You can get the job done without a permanent resource because we understand the challenges of that right now. It is time to plan, rewrite strategies, time to train, time to find your trusted collaborative partners. And one of the main values of the hospitality partnership is trust. Absolutely is key, and building long-term relationship. It's time to look at costs. It's time absolutely to work differently, without a doubt. It's time to be cost effective. time to look at new ways of working, time to, and let's get this hashtag going, hashtag emerge. I've been talking about this all through, or half the way through 2020 as well. And not only to survive, but to thrive and to flourish. So that's it. Rattle through it really quickly. Happy to speak to anybody. My contact details are there, and our social media platforms of Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions. Happy for answering any questions, maybe following this live as well. Okay. Thank you, Robin.
Right. Thank you, Jan. Yes, I must say I'm the first one who can support the idea. I mean, I've always said that a financial controller in an independent hotel doesn't really need to be full time, and most of what they end up doing is actually work that could be done by an administrative person. But that's my call, as it were, and that's the way I help the independent hotels in my part of the world. But it goes for any part, really. Whether it be sales, whether it be human resources, whether it be, the whole area. These days, there's so much expertise out there, and it's a case of paying for quality rather than quantity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's where the hotels can benefit. Does anybody have any questions for Jan? Stunned silent. So, oh well. Don't worry. I will be including a copy of Jan's presentation in the summary that I send out afterwards anyway. And of course, a link to the recording. So if anybody wants to review, or if anybody, wants to recommend it to other people, then please feel happy to do so.
Who won the voucher? Who won the prize there?
Oh,
there was
the
a
voucher. Cat won the voucher.
There was a prize somewhere.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Cat. Support. You won the prize, didn't you?
Say it again.
Yep. She got her voucher just before Christmas.
Thank you very much,
okay.
Barry.
Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, she won by one because there was only one. So, but yep, she won. So
great meeting today. Great forum today, Robin. Well, I mean,
thank you.
It was a very good one. Very good start of 2021.
And I'm hoping that we can continue onwards through the year. It doesn't have to be in lockdown that we have these meetings. My idea is to keep it going because it's a good way of providing information. And
definitely,
if anybody has any ideas for presentations or any contacts they think would give a good presentation, then do feel free to sort of put them in touch with me. I've got bookings up to sort of like mid-March time now, but always looking for new people who could give.
I will book myself for July, August, something like that. I will find a story to tell.
Okay. Right. Well, I think that's it for us today. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me, and look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you, Robin.
Well done.
Thank
Thank
you. See you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Robin.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi, everybody.